So, as a heads up, I have not seen any other movie in this franchise. All I know about the Fast and Furious franchise is that it's about racing and that it's about family. Those are two things I know about these movies. So, let's do this. Okay, so this movie starts 10 years in the past. And there's this guy, this criminal guy, telling his son, Jason Momoa, that he needs to make Dominic Toretto suffer. And then some other cars come in, and one of them is Dominic, and they come in blazing, and they steal an entire vault out of this guy's building. So this guy, Jason Momoa, they chase them, and they're driving down the streets, and the vault's going like crazy behind them. It's smashing things, and then there's a confrontation on the bridge. And then, like, the main criminal guy gets killed, and Jason Momoa is like, no! And I'm pretty sure that was something that must have been in a previous movie. I don't know which movie came out 10 years before this one. It was probably that one, maybe? I don't know if, like, the real world time corresponds with Fast and Furious time, but that's how it is. And then we come to the present day, and Vin Diesel has a kid called Lil B, and he's teaching him how to drive. We see Diesel's, his family, which I don't think is like his blood family, it's just like a bunch of his friends. And then there's his wife, his abuelita. This is his family. Now, I don't think the abuelita is like, it's not his grandma like by blood. She might just be the abuelita of like a friend of his that died because she says that she lost her son previously, or maybe she's like the mom of Vin Diesel's wife. Yeah. So they get a job to steal some military hardware. There's like a computer chip they need to steal. They need like an RC, a golden Lamborghini, laughing gas. And it's about this time I noticed that like there's this trick that they do where like they have like a needle drop of like some licensed song to get you in like the big pumped up epic mood, and then it'll transition to like this piano violin like emotional music. Like it sounds like music I would find on like some like free music site, just like, oh, it is the emotional music now to communicate that this is somebody that he is emotional about. He talks about, like, you know, parenthood, about passing things down. We see photos of all his past adventures that I have not seen before, but it's nice that we get an idea of like, oh, there's history here. And he shares a moment with his wife, and he's like, oh, I'm afraid of losing all of this. And she says, no, it won't happen again. So apparently it happened in the past. A woman shows up to their door that night. She's all like bloodied and everything, and Vin Diesel is not happy to see her. You can tell right away she is not part of the family. And from a gather, I think she's supposed to be like this big evil person from one of the previous movies. And we see flashbacks of like some other stuff that she was involved in. So like I'm pretty sure she was the bad guy in previous movie, but then to show that like Jason Momoa is even more of a bad guy, he comes to her little high-tech lair thing, and he has taken all of her guards' families hostage. They try to shoot her, but she has a gun jammer as a defense, and then she fights all her guards and gets away. She says a war is coming, and it turns out that this Rome mission that the rest of Vin Diesel's family is on is fake. They find this out from like this government agency guy who has like a SWAT team, and this agency guy is gonna be important later in the movie. And he tells his son, "We'll finish that driving lesson." I think one of the people in the family has built a dating app. I don't know if that was in a previous movie, but this is a moment where like they mentioned it twice at this point. I was like, did this guy actually like build it? Was that a plot point? I don't know. Anyways, the family starts like the Rome heist, but then it goes wrong because Jason Momoa is like a remote control. And I just have to say, at least Jason Momoa is having like a really, really fun time with this movie. Like, he's just like all skipping around, the big old grin on his face, just being chaotic. And I'll be honest, it's fun seeing him have fun. I'll say that. So the family, they get into like the truck they're supposed to break into, but instead of the computer chip, it's like a bomb. And I put this dialogue down. They say, like, one says, "It's a bomb, it's a big bomb," and then the other one says, "It was supposed to be computer, that's a bomb." So that's the dialogue here. So they immediately they go on the radio and like, "Guys, it's like a big neutron bomb," and they identify it and they pull up a schematic. Like, immediately, the agency can do this apparently. So Vin Diesel is in his car and his wife is on like a motorcycle, and they're chasing the bomb as it like bounces down the streets of Rome. The rest of the family escapes down into the sewers, and there's this point where like Diesel's like trying to like strategize, or is it tactical eyes? But I don't know. And he's like, oh, there's like, he's trying to catch the bomb, and he sees like, oh, there's those pumps are gonna blow, and so he like changes his driving. So like, he's like a smart guy. He can think on the fly as he's driving. And then Momoa blows up the Asian guy's car, but then the Asian guy bails out, so he's okay. So Vin Diesel's wife tries to chase down Momoa. She gets caught. Oh, and there's like this shot of like the bomb like bouncing down the stairwell, and it evoked memories of me of like that. There's this shot from like Battleship Potemkin, an old Sergei Eisenstein movie. I don't know if that was an intentional homage, but who knows? Maybe this is a deep cut in Fast X. So anyway, Diesel's wife gets caught. Momoa, like, and this is weird because like, so she's chasing Momoa, but the police catch her, and then like Momoa, who's like also like speeding through the streets, like he comes by the police and like he taunts her, and then they just let him drive away. Maybe he also kidnapped their families. Maybe. Vin Diesel, he manages to get the bomb knocked into the river, which is able to dampen like 90% of the damage it'll do, you know, but there's still like a big explosion in Rome, and that's not good. We go to like the agency, and we get this little like recap of like the previous adventures. So it's like, okay, now I see how this went from like this little like heist movie, like, because from like the racing, and now there's suddenly like international super spies, and there's like terrorism. So at least I can see a little bit of how this happened now. The agency head calls them this cult of cars that has corrupted law enforcement, and they all vote to kill Vin Diesel. So he's talking to the daughter of this person who's called Mr. Nobody. And at first I thought this was like a derogatory thing. It was like, I don't care about your father, who was like formerly in charge of this agency. You know, I'm going to call him Mr. Nobody because I think he's just nothing. But apparently that's actually his name because everybody calls him Mr. Nobody. But so like the daughter of Mr. Nobody, she's like, oh, like, I don't like what the agency's doing. I'm gonna go rogue and help Vin Diesel and his family. And Vin Diesel, like he says, it's like he only cares about protecting, what is this I wrote here? I can't read my own notes, but I know he cares about protecting the people he cares about. The agency then tries to go and capture Vin Diesel's son and his sister. And then John Cena is in this movie. He plays Uncle Jacob, and he saves Vin Diesel's son and sister. And then we're in Naples now, and Lady, the daughter of Mrs. Nobody, walks into a bar and beats up guys, and then she finds that Vin Diesel is there, and it turns out that Diesel's wife is in an agency black site. We go to Rio de Janeiro to find Momoa is there, and Vin Diesel has like some friends there. There's like this guy who's like, oh, like, hey, it's good to see you. And then there's a lady, and I think there's history there because like she ends up being like a thing later. Like I think she had like a cop sister, and then like the sister died, and now it's just her. And like I think she might have previously been a villain, but then redeemed. I don't know. But anyway, so Momoa shows up, and he's like, you know, he says again like, oh, you killed my father, so now I will make you suffer because that is how I will get my revenge on you. Everybody like pulls a gun on each other. But then they're like, hey, let's race instead to resolve this. Which is, again, what I thought this whole franchise was about. So Jason Momoa puts bombs on the cars, and I think Vin Diesel, like, knows this. Like, he realizes it, which I don't know how, because, like, I don't think you can really see him clearly. But, because Vin Diesel is racing against Jason Momoa, and then also, like, the lady is there, and then, like, the other guy, the Rio de Janeiro guy who is there. And, like, Jason Momoa, like, blows up the cars, and he kills the guy, but then Vin Diesel is able to, like, knock the bomb kind of off the lady's car and save her life. We cut to, like, the agency black site again with Vin Diesel's wife, and they have this magic laser surgery thing. This is a thing that exists in the Fast and Furious franchise, apparently. So that's interesting now. And I think, like, the villain lady that kind of kicked off the whole plot here is also there. I think that's her, but I don't know. There's a lot of people, and I'm really having trouble getting them straight. And then Jason Momoa has a scene like he hangs out with, like, 2 dead corpses. And, like, I kind of get the feeling he's going for, like a Joker kind of a thing here. He's just like, oh, he's so crazy, and he loves killing people and causing chaos. And I don't know, it kind of works. I don't know. Jason Momoa takes all of, like, the family's money, and it's like, oh no, we lost all our money, but it's okay because there's one guy in the family, this guy called, like, Roman. His name is Roman. He has an entire suit made out of money, and so, like, they have money, but there's this running gag where he's like, oh, save your receipts because I'm gonna want to be paid back, I guess. Back in also that all took place in London, by the way, I should say that. Back in Rio de Janeiro, Vin Diesel talks to the girl he saved. And also, so apparently, like, on top of this being, like, you know, like, she had, like, the sister and everything. So there's also this connection where they're trying to investigate Jason Momoa's father before Momoa's father was killed. Again, I'm assuming this was a previous movie. The rest of the family back in London, they meet Pete Davidson. He has, like, this little, like, computer cafe thing. They're, like, you know, trying to get black market gear from him. They get into, like, a fist fight. They get drug muffins, and then Pete Davidson betrays them to the police. And we're back at, like, the black site. Vin Diesel's wife, and who I'm assuming is the villain of one of the previous movies, the lady who kind of kickstarted this whole thing in this movie. They're strapped to these, like, tables. But apparently there's a control on the table that can sabotage the venting system, and so everybody is passed out, and then they get out of there, and then the two of them, they fight. The lights start flashing a lot, and I was having a hard time, like, trying to focus on everything. Then we go back to Rio de Janeiro, and we find out that Jason Momoa owns this old abandoned police station thing. So Vin Diesel's like, that's where I'll go to find him. And then John Cena and Vin Diesel's son, Lil B, they are on an airplane, and John Cena is, like, watching the Minions on the back seat thing. But then they're like, oh, there's agency people on the plane, and so John Cena and Lil B, they go on, like, this little, like, 2-person glider, and they jump out of the plane, and it transforms into, like, this little, like, cool little airplane thing, and then they zoom away to safety. And I'll say this, like, John Cena has, like, this actually, like, really good, again, like, this uncle-nephew chemistry with the kid playing Lil B. Like, there's this cute moment. John Cena's like, oh, I'm gonna use, like, the on-plane vodka as fuel for a plane. And then the kid, like, he looks around this cargo area, and there's, like, little, like, bottles of rosé wine. He's like, oh, can I use this? And Johnny Cena's like, no, won't work, but good initiative. And it's like, it's a cute moment. It's a cute moment. I like that moment. So the family go to meet Jason Statham, and I know this guy. He's either Hobbs or Shaw. I don't know which one he is, but he's one of them, because I remember seeing the ads for that movie. And then, like, they fight until the agency shows up, and then they work together to fight the agency. And then after the fight, like, this body bag opens up in Jason Statham's garage, some guy runs away. And at this point in the theater, I just went like, what the hell is happening? You go back to Vin Diesel. He's like exploring the thing with Jason Momoa. So he's exploring the place that he is owned by Jason Momoa, and then turns out to be a trap. Jason Momoa calls him to taunt him, and Vin Diesel says to him, "Without honor, you have no family. Without family, you have nothing." Very deep thoughts from Fast X. So the station was a setup, and Vin Diesel is arrested, and Vin Diesel's wife, like they try to like get out of the facility, and it turns out they're in Antarctica. And then that scene is done. Show Vin Diesel in a van. He's getting transported by the agency, and then they get attacked by Jason Momoa. And the scene on the bridge, you can really tell the green screen is at play here. It honestly looks like that one scene from like Black Widow that was getting circulated and made fun of. So the agency guy now believes Vin Diesel, because Vin Diesel is like, I'm innocent, and the agency guy didn't believe him, but now he does. And then like they fight off like Jason Momoa, but then he has like a sniper on a helicopter, and they shoot Mr. Nobody's daughter, and they shoot the agency guy. And at first I was like, oh my god, they're dead, but they weren't dead. Nobody dies from the sniper in the copter, or they just get knocked down enough so that Jason Momoa can get away. Then we cut to Portugal, and John Cena and Lil B go to a mine hideout, and have like this cute little moment again where Lil B is like, "Oh, John Cena, you're an awesome uncle." And at this point, I was thinking something's bad's gonna happen here. And then Jason Momoa sends like a bunch of assassins to catch John Cena and Lil B, and there's a big chase, and John Cena has like this car with cannons on it. And they're like, these things are exploding, and you're like, yeah, eat your heart out, Fury Road. Move over. We have Fast X now. Vin Diesel, he's in the plane with the agency guy, and they're like, oh, I need to get down there now. And the guy's like, oh, you know, there's an airstrip like 7 miles away. And Diesel's like, no, I'm just gonna drive out of the plane onto the highway. And then like cars get like smashed. Like I'm pretty sure this isn't how like physics work, but at this point I'm just along for a ride. It goes whatever it wants to do. Jason Momoa shows up with his car, and Vin Diesel's in the car, and then you have John Cena and Lil B in like a third car, and Momoa comes over and like he grabs Lil B off of John Cena's car. And John Cena is like, they say like all the bad guys coming in. John Cena has to sacrifice himself to stop the bad guys. And that's why I was like, John Cena, no! Because, so he explodes himself. And then Jason Momoa brings in these like grappling hook helicopters. But it's okay, because Vin Diesel outwits them again by completely defying the laws of physics. Well, that's okay. He gets his son back from Jason Momoa's car, and then like the rest of the family's coming in like, oh, they're gonna help him. But then the agency guy, he's evil, and so they get shot down by agency guy, and then they crash into a mountain. And then Jason Momoa says, I took everything. I took your family, I took your money, I took everything, and now you'll die knowing you couldn't protect your son, because he's gonna crash like 2 giant gas tankers together on the dam that Vin Diesel and his son are on. And then Vin Diesel replies back, "You made one mistake. You didn't take my car." And I was very disappointed in this line, because I was hoping he would say, "You made one mistake. You messed with my family." And I put like a little frowny face in my notes here, because I thought he was going to say that, and he didn't. And then, so the trucks begin to collide together, but then Vin Diesel escapes them by going down the dam. But then Jason Momoa has bombs on the dam, so he sets them to blow. They're like, oh god, what are we going to do? And then it cuts away. And then it cuts to Vin Diesel's wife. And again, I'm pretty sure it's Evil Lady in Antarctica. And then they find a submarine that comes out of the ice, and Gal Gadot is in the submarine. And then the credits start playing, and then we get a mid-credits scene with Dwayne Johnson, who, again, I know he's either Hobbs or Shaw. I don't know which one, but I know he's one of them. So yeah, like, it ends on this cliffhanger. I don't know if I'm gonna go back for Fast XI. If you guys like this and you want me to do it again, I will. If you don't like this, then I probably won't. But yeah, it's Fast X. Thank you.